that is relevant to me is glossaries. When you translate into a less resourced language, mine is Frankish, which is my mother tongue. There are hardly any, there is no vocabulary, just one dictionary around, really. And then you have to create this, I wasn't, for example, I didn't really learn my language. So I know how to build a sentence because, for example, I remember my grandparents, how they said things, but I don't remember the single words very often because then we went away from the region, and so a glossary is very, very relevant, that it proposes you the right terminology. And an example, a colleague of mine works with Diola, which is a Senegalese language, and her husband has been away for years from the language and is losing more and more terminology. So when they do a translation, they really need a glossary in the background. Now, this is one thing where the file is going to be very good, where Omega T still has a problem because you have to really insert it with a tab delimited text in the background, the glossary. So while you translate, you add the glossary terms into a simple text file, say it is UTF-8, and then Omega T reloads and reloads it, but for now we don't have an access to a dictionary resource where you can automatically retrieve all that is in there for that language. And you have it already, right? So like I said, we save it in UTF-8 format, and then we go to open a segment to translate, and this is how it is presented. You go in the write to translation, go down to the next one, Control N. Afterwards, this whole description it's online, so you don't need to take the notes on how to do things. So you go ahead translating, and if you look in the lower right corner, you get your proposal for terminology. Adding terminology, you can add terminology anytime here. This is why you translate. If you find something, you just put it in there, save it, and Omega T then reloads this file. Okay? Spell checking. It's also quite a short time spell checking in there is available. The problem here is we have spell checkers for all major languages, but not having glossaries, not having dictionaries for less resourced languages, we don't have spell checkers. So here, if you have it, you can activate your spell checker, and you have to find it on your computer system. This is different from one computer to the other. This means on Windows you will have one directory. Using Linux, Ubuntu, or even another distribution, you will find them in a different place. So I have 3 different computers, and on all 3 I have it in a different directory. When you do this, when you start to work, look where your OpenOffice or dictionaries are. So you can just put this, how do you say this, the cursor? This path in there. Okay, then you get the whole selection of the dictionaries that are available. And there you see why it is relevant when at the beginning you have to give the locale. This is German of Germany. Because afterwards spell checking will go to those spell checker files, to the right ones. Now, when you look at this, I installed it then, and you saw that I immediately made some errors. You simply go there, you have to reopen the segment. Oops, I went one too fast. You reopen the segment, you correct it, and then you go ahead with the next one. So it's really easy and fast. When you work with translation tools, you have this in Trados, like you have it in Omega T, like you have it in all other tools, you have tags. One thing before you export any translation, I would always say control that all text are there, because otherwise you could have really bad surprises that you cannot open your target document. Very often it's really just one small thing that you deleted while you were translating because you're too concentrated on the text and don't look so much on the text. So check them before you export the target. So I did the tag validation, and you see that there is one where I made an error. It shows you up. You get a whole list if there are more, and you can go them through them one by one and correct this. So you insert the missing tag, and then you always go ahead by controlling, well, edit next segment. When you go ahead, the translation is automatically saved in the translation database. Now, at this stage, everything is okay. I mean, I just did 3 sentences, but let's say we did the whole translation, and we export the whole document. You get to it, and then you open it. And you can see then that the translations, the layout remains the same. So you translate, and when you then export it, this one was an HTML document, it gets back into HTML, and you just can take it and publish it. And this is true for Omega T. Well, this is what I mainly use Omega T for, really, because it's really great for HTML. Now, let's see what Anaphrasios does, which is different. Who of you do you know Trados, these funny text that it creates with the 100% matches in between and all that? Or it's just, you know them, okay. Now, Anaphrasios is, came up because WordFast was created, which creates Trados segmented documents. You work within Word like in Trados, but something like this was needed also on the open source side. So they decided to create this tool called Anaphrasios, which creates the same kind of translation memory for WordFast does. So if you have a colleague working with WordFast and you work with OpenOffice, you can exchange already the native translation memory, but you have also TMX import and export there. Now, I don't know how much you know about TMX, TBX, and these things. I will talk about this shortly later. So you have to install it in OpenOffice, and it's an extension. So you go to the extension manager and just open it. It gets added, and of course you have to agree to the license, which is GPL license. Licenses should be introduced by Francis. I hope you will be here in time. Don't know, because you will have the same problems we have probably. Now, when you look at OpenOffice, you see that there is another toolbar, which is this one, below here. And you can go, of course, with the mouse and click there to do your things, but I prefer shortcuts. I mean, if you're fast in typing, it's much faster using shortcuts, Control-S, Control-V, and so on. Now, I took a document always of this educational material, which was originally a Word document with really wide layout, and this would have produced problems with any cut tool, because they use tables in tables and text boxes in tables. So if you do that with a cut tool, it doesn't matter which one you use, they all have problems with that. I didn't find one who doesn't have problems up to now. So I transformed this in a normal text document, and I'm going to translate these three, I translated the 3 yellow highlighted ones. And the first thing to do is, if you like shortcuts, you have to activate them. You do this